it's been crazy to just see online everywhere, and just seeing them on the TV, we were like, oh my God, because we were just talking to them like, I hope they get rescued, they need to get out of there. It was just crazy. We turn on the news, my mom comes out and she's like, go, turn on, record it, and then we see them, and it's just the funniest thing, and everybody likes her, and she's just a sweetheart, really, yeah.
What is it about her, do you think, that so many people are connecting with?
Well, Shirley is really articulate, and she always tells you exactly what she thinks. So having been in the family, you know, coming into the family about 25 years ago, from the beginning, she has told me exactly what she thinks, and she always speaks her mind. So I think people appreciated that. You know, it's kind of a breath of fresh air. There's, you know, that's how it works.
Yeah. And what do you want to add as well?
I'm just happy that everyone loves my grandma as much as we do.
Yeah. Okay, and we come back and we'll wrap things up with you, Shirley. So what's next for you? Where do you go from here?
I go to my wonderful daughter's house in the immediate future. I have a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful daughter. Very beautiful.
Are you trying to set me up? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm letting you know. And maybe you'll come out and see us there. She's over west, and her house is intact, luckily, and so I can go and stay there for a while. I would really like to get back to my house. It's just awful.
And one last thing, you talked about the wig the other day, that you wish that you put on your wig.
Yes,
talk about why you thought that was, you had just a few moments to grab everything from your house, why that was an essential.
That was more essential than my toothbrush, which I forgot. I mean, well, the wig is it's kind of it's just a part. I don't know what to say. I really don't. Words fail me. But it's just part of me, and it's how I meet the rest of the world. What do you say? You've got better words than I have.
Well, I'm going to ask you one last question. Talk about Houston and its response and everybody coming together, the people coming to rescue you, the incredible spirit of this community that you've observed.
Oh, it is an incredible spirit, if that's what you call it, really. It's amazing. It's amazing. Everybody seems to be concerned for everybody else. Really, the concern is tremendous. And so many people are suffering, really. You don't realize that until your own house is hit. And they tell you, you know, the house is going down, or whatever words you would use. I'm thinking, I'm alliterating with like the ship going down. And it's a horrible feeling, and it's just terrible. But seeing all the people coming out, and of course we were watching television, thank you guys, most of the time to see what was going on, and it's just amazing that many people came out to help the other half of them, which were suffering, you know, who were suffering. And it was just really, really gratifying, because you don't know Houston, really. You know, you don't know the essence of it. Maybe other people do, but I didn't. And the essence of it is people that really are just small town people that really care about each other and are right there. I wish I had your words.
No, well, we love your words. Can I get a hug?
On camera?
Yeah. Wow. Oh, I got a kiss too. Look at that.
Well, what do
Shirley's coming in.
What do you do with a good-looking man right up? That's a reflex.
That's her reflex. You are the best. We love you. I know back at the station they love you as well.
Oh my God, isn't that wonderful? Really?
Yes, we do love Shirley.
This guy who's
we do
love that heavy camera.
Yeah.
God.
I know. It's just sorry. We just love listening to Shirley.
See you really close up again. And better circumstances.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's really good to see you close up, she says to Alex.
To at my daughter's house.
Okay. That sounds good. We'll do a reunion. All right. This is our girl. All right. Thank you, guys.
Well, we loved hearing from Miss Shirley. Goodbye, Miss Shirley.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
I don't know whether they have a television on in that room or not.
Well, I hope she knows how much we appreciate her. What a wonderful woman. And Alex, I think you get yourself quite the girlfriend there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know, though, if it's going to be Miss Shirley or her daughter.
That's right.
That was fantastic.
That's an interesting question.
Alex, thank you. We
They
appreciate
said
it.
you're my new girlfriend.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, hopefully is what she said. Hopefully her is what she said.
We heard her. That is it. Now who's
Good
blushing?
things come to those who wait is what Miss Shirley said.
Yeah, and you know what? She speaks from experience because I know that she didn't want to give her age, but she doesn't mind if we do.
Oh, it's been wonderful meeting you.
I'm just letting them close off
Yes,
here.
I was going to say, let's leave them. Let's leave them alone.
Really, I'm just overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
Really.
Thank you.
An overwhelming experience entirely.
Yes.
It's sort of the aftermath, half aftermath. You have to be careful.
Right. That's
Yeah.
right. Thank you.
Oh, God. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Am I still on?
I don't know if we're still on.
You are, and it's
She's
only
ready for a
because,
break. All right. Thank you, guys.
Alex, you are, and it's only because we can't tear ourselves away from her. She's just lovely.
That's the simple reason. So
Yeah.
thank you very much, Alex. We appreciate it, and Shirley, thank you very much. But by the way, she's a beautiful 92 years old.
Yeah, she is a dream. Although she doesn't appreciate us going there and talking
But
about
you
her
know,
age.
at that age, looking so lovely and been through so much, and she has such a tremendous attitude about all of this, even having been displaced, and she, you know, her home covered with water there. Now she's visiting, of course, her son.
Yeah.
So-
Wig or no wig, she is a knockout.
She
She's
looks
just a
wonderful.
beautiful woman. So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we've got a lot more to get to. And now to a big find inside a home in the Humble area here.
An 11-foot, 300-pound alligator. We knew some of them were going to come out.
Yeah, ABC 13 producer Chris Nocera was at the home at Atascocita Point Drive minutes after constables and wranglers got that gator out of the house. You can watch them try and get it out in the backyard.
Hey guys, so we're up here in the Humble area, and we had this gentleman, Jared, who's part of these animal rescues. He gave us a call this morning letting us know that this home that had flooded here in the Humble area, which flooded, they found this gator in the dining room of this home that is behind me. I'll show you that in a minute. But the officers here to your left, then along with a few others, managed to get the gator outside, and obviously they don't want the gator in this area while cleanup efforts are continuing here. So they're trying to get the gator out of here, and they're going to take it to another area. They're not going to kill it, and they're just going to take it to another area so they can relocate him. This is Jared right here. He's there with his assistant. Their goal right there was to first try to get him away from the gate, the fence there, and their next goal is to cover him up, and then these officers here on the left are about to kind of jump in and tape his mouth, but that attempt looks like it was just a little unsuccessful, so they're going to try to coax him back here in the gate, away from the gate again. Over here we have the homeowners. Let me just introduce you real quick. This is Brian, the homeowner. Brian, we're on Channel 13. I just want to ask you a couple questions. You were here last night, and then you came in this morning. That's when you made a discovery. Talk to me about what had happened.
Yeah, I left about 9 o'clock last night. Got back about 7:30 this morning. I walked through the house and saw that was just looking at demo in the house. And when I turned around to walk back through my dining room, I looked down and there was a 10-foot alligator in my dining room. So from there, it's just kind of been the guys that were helping demo, helped lasso him and drag him out the back door, and now we've got the game warden trying to get him out of the house.
Gotcha. I mean, you've never had a gator in your house before?
First time. I am from Louisiana originally, but I've been in Texas for 15 years, and it's still the first time I've ever had a gator in my house, in either state.
I mean, was it frightening, alarming? You know, as soon as you didn't think it was real at first, or the people that you were with didn't think it was?
I was with just looked at it and asked me, "Is that thing real?" And I said, "Yes." And you know, we're all in a big rush because I've got about 20 homes that I built back here that we're trying to get rebuilt in Sugar Creek Homes, and you know, so it's been a busy day just trying to get the alligator back to a safe home somewhere.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing your story with us. So they're continuing these efforts over here. Oh, he just jumped up on top of him, so
wait for me.
Get in a little bit closer here. These two officers are going to try to tape the gator's mouth shut, which will allow everyone to be a lot safer once they close those jaws here. I'm going to zoom in real quick here just to kind of give you a close-up there. And it looks like we've got some success here, taping his mouth closed. Again, that'll ensure safety for everyone here.
Thank you, sir.
And there you go.
I got a tape measure up there on one of those columns.
So I'm going to go talk to Jared here real quick while it looks like part of his job is done here.
Thanks.
So Jared, just talk to us about this gator real quick and how that his mouth is taped. You know, how big do you think he is? I know you have to measure him and weigh him and everything.
Yeah, we'll see. He's going to be probably 9 to 10 foot.
Mm-hmm. Is that typical for this area? And for something, after a storm like this, is this, typical? Have you been getting calls like this?
We are getting calls. We do know there are a lot of large alligators in this area, in and around the water bodies around Lake Houston. Mm-hmm. About 2 to 3 weeks ago, we caught a 7-11 foot alligator in a nearby area that was just traveling across school property. Mm-hmm. And we have been getting a lot of calls. Now that the weather's better, we're getting a lot of calls for animals that have been displaced, animals getting in people's homes and attics. Mm-hmm. Like this alligator was found in their home. We're getting a lot of calls for deceased livestock that has drowned in the flooding.
Right.
So,
what's your advice for anyone in this area or the whole Houston area? They're going to find any type of critter, gator, snake, whatever, in their home. If they find an animal this size in their home, such as Brian here, what's your advice to them?
Yeah, just contact professionals. We're available and trying to get people to help. Texas Parks and Wildlife, contact them if you see an alligator. And they dispatched us to this location. Just stay away from them. It's just better to play it safe and let a professional handle the situation. Never attempt to feed the wildlife, especially alligators. That just creates a dangerous alligator. So we don't want them associating humans with food.
And your plan for this guy?
He will be relocated probably to a breed stock program where they're able to breed, and it helps benefit wild populations of alligators.
Mm-hmm. All right, great job. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.
Jared.
That was Chris Nacero. First time I think I've seen like an alligator wrangling, in detail.
Yes, and I'm glad it's the first time I've seen it. I'm sure a lot of folks don't want to see it coming through their house ever again.
Yeah.
So glad to be joining you here on the set, Melanie. I'm Gina Gaston. Good afternoon to those of you who are just hearing my voice for the first time today. It has been a busy week and a dramatic week for all of us. We do want to say that after a very long week, it's going to be a busy weekend as well for so many of you, and in fact, probably most of us. If you have to go out, then we want to offer you some peace of mind.
Yeah, all you have to do is download our free ABC 13 News app and activate that push notification feature. This is really helpful. We will be watching everything this weekend for you, from potential rainstorms. Yeah, there might be a few of those out there. Yeah, to neighborhood water levels. I know you're very concerned about your own neighborhood. And we will alert you immediately if anything happens. You can also watch a live stream of our coverage right on your phone, and you can check in anytime this weekend for the latest updates. We have got you covered. Just look for ABC 13 in your app store and download it. Even the price is great. It's free. It is free.
We try to make that easy for you. All over our community, so many people are looking for ways that they can assist. And in fact, there are drives, places where you can go and make donations. And we want to take you to one in Galveston County.
Yeah, right. Actually, in the city of Hitchcock. And as I understand it, this is the Galveston County Supply Drive, which helps. It's very easy. And Dr. Yolanda Waters is there. She's one of our volunteers. Good morning, or actually good afternoon, Dr. Waters. Good to see you. And I see a lot of stuff behind. Good afternoon to you. I see a lot of items behind you and people relaxing there.
Yes.
Have you had a lot of takers?
Mm-hmm. We've had a lot of volunteers, and we've had a lot of other churches and community centers sending their items here, because we are not a shelter. We're actually a disaster assistance. And as you can see behind me, we've collected everything from lightly used clothing to new pillows, blankets, sheets, towels. I think I lost you.
Right now.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can. Yes, ma'am, we sure can. You keep going.
We have dry goods and food. We have children's items, diapers, blow-up mattresses. We have a couple of 18-wheelers that will be coming in from outside the state. I have one coming in from Memphis, Tennessee, and another one from Michigan. We've had about 30 volunteers here this morning. We are unpacking, receiving things, unpacking them, sorting them, and putting them on tables. What we need help with here, Gina, is getting the word out that we're here. We're inundated with items, which we're very grateful. We're passing our blessings on. All of Bayou Vista and Omega Bay was safe. We didn't have water in our homes, and we're passing those blessings on. So if you could please get the word out to the public, we will not turn anyone away. There is no limit as to the number of items or the quality of the items. Most of everything here is, like I said, the clothing is lightly used. All the other items are new. We welcome anyone. We have volunteers that will help you. We'll ask you to sign in so we know where we're distributing items to and what subdivisions the people are coming from, so that we know how many subdivisions and people we're serving. But we're here for the people. My phone number is 713-854-1530. If anybody needs information about our hours, which are going to be Monday through Friday most of the time, 10 to 5. We will be open all weekend and on Monday. I know it's a holiday, but we will all be here.
That is great to hear.
If you need something or you want to donate directly to us, please let me know. Give me a call. We're here at the Mud Building in Bayou Vista at Highway 6.
Well, you said the biggest thing we could do is get the word out, and certainly we're doing that right now. That's the good news. But I want to ask, is there anything in particular that you need most of? I know oftentimes it's stuff that is for babies, and then it's also bigger sizes that a lot of places say they need the most.
Yes, we have a lot of big sizes. We've got extra large and 2XLs and some 3XLs. Not a whole lot, but we do have some. What we have the most of is the linens, which so many people have lost. We need dry goods. We need diapers and wipies and canned goods, dried food, toiletries such as toilet tissue, paper products, paper towels, paper plates, cups, all the things that are disposable, because so many of the victims have lost absolutely everything, and they don't even have running water at this point that they can wash things with. So all the disposable items and paper products are definitely something that we need.
Well, Dr. Waters, we want to get you a lot of business. We want to have some folks stop by and certainly take advantage of your generosity there. What is your address? Where are you?
The address here is, I'm sorry, somebody give me that address. Hold on.
We'll stand by.
Exactly.
We have nowhere to be.
Okay. Okay, here we go. If you will come to the police station, I'm sorry. If you'll come to the police station here in Bayou Vista, we're above that in the mudroom.
Okay.
And we're at the corner of Highway 6 and 45.
Highway 6 and 45, the police station, and you guys are upstairs.
Yes, and the address is actually 2929 Highway 6.
I'm sure the folks in that community know exactly where that is. We sure appreciate what you're doing, and Dr. Waters, appreciate you volunteering your time amidst this difficult situation that we're all in.
We have a great group of people out here.
I can see that.
Thank you so much for publicizing this for us, because we really need the people. We've got the items. Please come and get them.
All right, we will send that word out to all your neighbors there in Bayou Vista. Thank you so much, Dr. Waters.
Thank you, Gina. Have a good day.
We want to go now to Rebecca Spira, who is stepping in now. Catherine's been here all morning. Rebecca just came in. What's the latest on the roads, Rebecca?
Hey, Mel and Gina, we are seeing a lot of improvement on most of our freeways, which is some fantastic news. Of course, we do have a couple of problems that we do need to talk about. One of the biggest issues that we've had is what's going on over at the Arkema plant. And because of what's happened over there and the evacuation that has happened because of that, over at Highway 90, between FM 2100 and FM 1413. That entire stretch of Highway 90 is completely blocked off because of what's happening there with that emergency situation. I do want to give you some good news about I-10, the East Freeway. It's still currently closed, heading eastbound and westbound at North Main and Crosby Cedar Bayou. It's also closed in Beaumont. However, here's the good news. The good news is, and I'm moving on over to a new spot, and I just have to tell everyone I don't have heels on. So if you see me over here, I don't have my heels on just yet. Eastbound and westbound at North Main and Crosby Cedar Bayou, completely closed, still also closed over in Beaumont. But TxDOT's working to open the westbound lanes of I-10, the East Freeway. Now, the eastbound lanes will remain closed for some time still, and we'll let you know as soon as those eastbound lanes open. But right now, westbound lanes, they're working to open them. They're not open yet, but hopefully they'll be open soon. Let's go out to our TransStar cameras now. Here is a look at I-10, the East Freeway. Just what we were talking about. You can see right here at Crosby-Lynchburg, the freeway is still completely shut off. But overall, that's really good news for us to know that those westbound lanes might be opening up and some transit will happen on those freeways soon enough. Let's move on over to our next TransStar camera and take a look at what I believe is the Southwest Freeway. So here's an update over on the northbound lanes of the Brazos River. Some water from the river was seeping up onto the freeway in this area, so they've had to block off 3 of those northbound lanes. No threat of the whole freeway closing down just yet, but just to be safe, they've got these lanes blocked off and they're monitoring the situation. So the freeway in Sugar Land is not shut down, just a couple of the northbound lanes are. Let's move on over to our next camera. Here's a look at I-10, the Katy Freeway at Eldridge. This is right near the Addicks and Barker reservoirs, where we've had to block off a couple of lanes because of what we've been dealing with over there with the flooding, heading on over to the bayou, Buffalo Bayou. So a couple of these lanes still closed. Traffic is able to get by. West Beltway, though, in that area, still completely blocked off, and that is because of all of the high water that we've been dealing with from the Addicks and the Barker heading on over to the Buffalo Bayou. Here's a look. The West Belt completely quiet this afternoon still. Some good news. 59, the East Tex Freeway at the San Jacinto River, completely open in both directions, as well as the feeders. And some more good news. Harris County Toll Road Authority is still offering free tolls, as well as Fort Bend County. You can ride on their toll roads for free. Back to you guys.
All right, Rebecca, thank you so much. A lot of folks still very concerned about our bayou levels. I know Brazos Bayou is still a big concern, and also Northeast. So people very curious about whether or not we, in fact, are going to have much rain coming our way.
That's exactly right. And there apparently is something out there in the forecast. Let's go on over to Casey Curry. And Casey, we're looking at rain, but as I remember, you said not a lot, hopefully?
Not a lot. I mean, at this point, we put rain in the forecast kind of for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And right now, we're keeping those rainfall amounts at less than an inch for most of you. We do have several dry days ahead. A few minutes ago, we were talking with Tom Abrams, anchor Tom Abrams. He was out with the National Guard. They were saying they were about to go up into Liberty County and check out the Trinity River. So I want to get you some updates on the levels there, because this is why they're going out. They've been called in, it sounds like, by the game wardens to do some rescues out there. Not sure who's out there that they need to rescue. But here's the current situation with the Trinity River at Liberty. Still well above flood stage. Flood stage is at 26 feet. We're over 32 right now, and expected to stay above record levels all the way through Tuesday. We don't even drop below record levels until Tuesday for the Trinity River there at Liberty. We also want to check the Trinity River. This is downstream at Moss Bluff. You're sitting close to 19 feet right now. Your flood stage is just over 12. We are expecting improvements there, but not until early next week. In fact, likely staying above your record levels at 15 feet. That's likely to happen until the early part of next week at least. Remember, you're downstream, so you may take a little longer for that location at Moss Bluff to improve along the Trinity River. So we don't want to forget our neighbors out in Liberty County that are still dealing with major flooding there. Also want to remind you that we've got 2 areas that we're really keeping an eye on with new flood advisories that have been fine-tuned today by the National Weather Service in coordination with local officials here. The first one, these are the areas that are affected by the Barker and the Addicks reservoirs. These are areas that, as you know, continue to stay flooded. And we've heard from the city, we've heard from the county, we've heard from the Harris County Flood Control District that we expect these areas to remain flooded for more than 2 weeks from now. So areas that are flooded now in these locations will likely remain flooded. If you are not currently flooded, they believe that you will likely not be flooded in your home, at least. House flooding is still ongoing in these areas around the the Attucks, around the Barker. Both of them are relatively steady and slowly falling, but we are not expecting big improvements in these locations for at least the next couple of weeks. The other area that we had kind of fine-tuned today as well is down into Brazoria County. This area has some evacuations with it, and this flood warning will stay in effect through next Friday. So this is a week from now, and we're still going to be talking about major flooding going on in this area. So this is for you folks down in Brazoria County. This is because of the flooding that continues along the Brazos River, along the San Bernard River, where we are expecting these flooding conditions to get worse in many of these locations, as these rivers have not even crested yet in most locations. All right, let's get you out to the tropics. You've probably seen lots of chat online about several things that we're keeping an eye on. At this point, I don't want you guys really spending any additional energy worrying about anything else in the tropics right now. We do have Irma, which blew up very quickly yesterday, Hurricane Irma. I'll show you the track on that in just a second, plus the computer models. We also have a new area of disturbed weather that's coming off the African coastline. This area has about a 60% chance for development in the next 5 days. But again, these things are so far out there, we're not concerned really at all about them at this point. Remember yesterday we talked about this area of disturbed weather in the southern parts of the Gulf. This one yesterday, the National Hurricane Center and us keeping an eye on it, the National Hurricane Center kind of pegged it with a 20% chance for development. Now they've dropped that. So it isn't really that we expect this area to develop into anything organized tropically, but we do expect moisture to surge northward, and that's why we've upped those rain chances. We're going to couple that moisture during the early part of next week, Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday, with a frontal boundary that'll move in on Wednesday. So higher rain chances as that front pulls in, provides some lift to the atmosphere, combining that with tropical moisture. So that's why we've upped the rain chances across our area once we get into the early part of next week. So let's get to the latest on Hurricane Irma. Remember yesterday it blew up so quickly to a Category 3 major hurricane. Now it is weakened just a little bit. Still expected to rapidly strengthen back up to major category strength again today. Maximum sustained winds are at 110 miles per hour, moving to the west-northwest at 13. One of the reasons I don't want you to stress about this storm is it's so far out there. I mean, look at this. We get you to Wednesday, and it's just then approaching the Caribbean. So this is a storm that we're probably going to be on our radar screens, so to speak, for the next couple of weeks. I will give you a sneak peek, though, at the computer models. They've been a little all over the place in the last 24 hours, getting a little more consensus, though. And you'll notice that there is a good consensus that this storm will likely skirt off to the north, away from the Gulf. So we'll continue to monitor this storm, of course, but at this point, Irma is not something that you need to be overly concerned about. Definitely focus your efforts in on the dry days that we have ahead to get some cleanup done. So here's how it breaks down with your rain chances. We're going to keep them slim to none through Sunday. Stray shower possible for us beginning Saturday night into Sunday, and then again on Sunday afternoon. Once we get into early next week, there's that tropical moisture that will combine with our frontal boundary to kind of slide on into our area. That's what's going to give our chance for rain. So how much rain are we talking about with this next batch? The good news here is these are really modest amounts of rain. We're talking ½ to an inch amounts over that kind of 3-day period from Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday. So these aren't torrential downpours at this point. That's not what we're expecting. Of course, any rain is unwelcome at this point in our world, but modest rainfall amounts over the next 7 days. So as we look ahead, one thing I want to call your attention to is the heat. We are going to be very warm through the weekend until we get a little more cloud cover and a few showers into the area. That'll kind of knock the heat down a little bit. Take precautions. A lot of you are doing some really hard manual labor. Some of you not used to it. I mean, let's just be blunt here. Most of you not used to ripping out carpets and sheetrock. So take precautions as you're doing this over the next few days. Pay attention to your body. All of those summertime heat tips that we give you about hydrating and taking those breaks in the shade, please do that. Don't add any undue stress to yourself if you can. You got enough going on. Rain back in the forecast for us early next week, and then that cool front brings us some really great weather back behind it. We're talking lows in the 60s when you wake up on Thursday morning with lots of sunshine and some dry days after that.
All right, Casey, folks certainly relieved to hear that the expected rain is going to be very small. Yeah. Because right now, rain is a really ugly 4-letter word.
Yeah, just even the thought of it on the roof makes you shudder a little bit, doesn't it? Well, we've been talking a lot about all of the aid that Houston has had pouring in from all around the country. People who've just shown up, whether it's with boats or trucks or food or whatever. It has been just an enormous display of generosity. Well, Boston, a city also that calls itself strong, Boston Strong, Strong, we all know those words, is about to join that list of incredible givers. And to tell us all about it, you're going to love this, right, Gina? You know that Art Rascone guy, and you know he's got yeah, exactly, sits right here. Well, he's got a very handsome son who works in the city of Boston, and Matt Rascone is standing by right now live, so we can talk to him about these trucks headed our way. Hi, Matt.
Hi, how are you, Melanie?
I'm doing great, doing great. We're so glad you were willing to call in and tell us about it. So tell us what's headed our way.
Well, yeah, I was at Boston City Hall Plaza this morning, and we've been collecting donations really all week. The mayor put out strongly encouraged people to donate what they could, toiletries, diapers and cleaning supplies and things like that. And they set up several drop-off locations in and around the city. And today was kind of the day where they were going to load them all up, bring them to City Hall, and then sort through them and box them all up and bring them over to Houston. But I think what surprised everyone was the amount. There are just tons and tons of donations, and they had hundreds of volunteers there sorting through all of these, and they boxed them up, filled up 1, 2, 3, 4. When I left, they had filled up 5 semi-trucks. These are 18-wheelers that hold 20 tons each, and had filled up 5 of those. When I left, I talked to the city official there, and he said they were expecting that they would have to fill up to 8 semi-trucks full of these donations and send them on down in that direction. And which of course is like more than 1,600 miles away. It's like a 36-hour drive. I mean, that's far away, and it was. But for me, especially just because I grew up in Houston, I mean, it was awesome to see. It was just an incredible sight to see so many people come out and put together so many donations and want to really just help out everyone who is impacted by Harvey.
You know, Matt, help us understand why it is that a city, 1,800 miles away would come out so strong for us here in Houston. I mean, because it's really humbling to look at the pictures as we are right now on the screen of all of your friends in Boston being willing to give and to work for us.
Yeah, I mean, right from the start, I mean, we had been, on our news channels over here promoting, saying that, hey, they're asking for donations. These people need help. I mean, we're showing these images, of course, the same video and images I'm sure you were showing on your channel there of just people being forced out of their homes. And I think it really just touched a lot of people. I mean, Boston, as you know, has been through its own devastation as well.
Yes.
And of course, appreciated the support that they received from across the country. And people responded to the call for help, and it was pretty amazing to see.
So in other words, they just decided as they looked at the news, like everybody else across the country, we need to go and fill up, a dozen semis and send it to Houston. That is just incredible.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was really cool and really, I think, surprising. I mean, they were not expecting that many, but it was cool to see.
Well, we are certainly going to look forward to receiving those big truckloads. You said 8 of them, you said?
Yeah, that's what they were expecting. So they were still in the process of filling them up. I mean, they had filled up 5, but there were so many pallets of boxes that were still sitting there on the plaza. And so they were saying, well, we think that we've already called to have a couple of more semis come over here. And of course, the drivers, these are retired drivers that are giving their time to come, to drive over there as well. And so, hopefully we'll have to get an official count. But that was what they had said before I left.
So even the drivers are volunteers, doesn't
so nice,
it?
Yeah,
that really just puts a cherry on top. Well, Matt Rascone, it is great to talk to you. We certainly appreciate your bringing us this extraordinary story. It's going to warm the hearts of all Houstonians who hear it. And we love Boston. We know that they have been through their own difficulties and shown us all how to do it and to continue to be strong. It's a real lesson for everybody.
Yeah, Matt, thank you so much for being with us. It really shows so many communities from all over the area. And we've been talking about over the last several several days about people coming in, of course, the Cajun Navy from Louisiana, folks coming from Oklahoma, from Kentucky, and from other cities here in Texas. But to see a city so far away doing so much is it just warms your heart. And like I said, it makes you feel humbled. That's how I feel when I see
you
that outpouring of love. I know we have Nick Notario standing by live for us.
I believe he's in Angleton right now. Nick, are you in Angleton, and what's going on there?
Yeah, we just got here a few minutes ago. We're at the Brazoria County Fairgrounds, where there are 900 animals here. You can see some of the horses in the trailer right now. Majority of animals that are at the county fairgrounds are from evacuees that were leaving, and they had to bring their animals somewhere. There are 900. The majority are horses and dogs. However, they have had turtles, potbelly pigs, and peacocks in here as well. The good news is this makeshift shelter has got plenty of food, hay, feed, water, all kinds of supplies. So that is the good news. The bad news, there's still a number of animals here that are left stranded out in high water. In fact, we are about to head out on a boat with someone and go into a neighborhood where there are horses that are stuck in high water, and we're not able to actually get the horses out. However, we're going to be bringing the horses some food, so that way while they're standing there stranded, at least they'll have something to eat, and then eventually when the water starts to go down, they're able to get those horses out of here. But, you know, this isn't the only site. We were up in Katy this morning at the Katy Mills Mall, where they have a makeshift shelter there. And there they had quite the operation. There's a group from Austin that came down, and they've got dogs and cats, and they're shipping those animals up to Austin or other temporary locations. And the number of volunteers was incredible to see the people turning out to help up in Katy. Brazoria County, they've got a lot of help here. They don't need any more help, but unlike in Katy, there's a whole wide variety of animals. They've asked us not to go inside, so that's why we're outside the gate here. But you know, I walked around, and they've got plenty of horses. It smells nice down here at the county fairgrounds, but it's great to see these animals at least not in floodwaters and here doing well.
In light of the fact we don't have smell-o-vision, we appreciate the scent update from you, Nick. But I wanted to ask you, some places around town I know are trying to coordinate drives to get food for animals. I know, for example, the library in Piney Point is giving you a place to pick up food for your animals. But do they need food there for horses? Do they need people to make donations of that sort?
They're good here in Brazoria County. Up in Katy, they had plenty of dry and wet food. The call in Katy was for specialty food for older dogs that may have medical conditions, and also puppy and kitten milk. Those were two of the food items that they say they didn't have. And then they were also looking for spoons, because they like to give them peanut butter, and also, believe it or not, poop bags. You might take that for granted, but they're walking these animals. You got to clean it up somehow.
Absolutely.
And so they were putting a call for, yeah, I know. But trust me, I smell it here. And no poop bags needed here with all the horses. So that's the difference. But in terms of volunteers, you know, people were asking me on social media, should we go? What do we need to do to help and volunteer? At the moment in Katy this morning, they were good with volunteers, but it can't hurt to check in and just see whether it may be driving some animals to Austin or just walking an animal around to give them a break, you know?
Yeah.
When you're ad-libbing, it's good to come up with the word poop instead of some others. Thank you, Nick.
Well, and I was beginning to think we had a theme there. You know, we were spending a lot of time talking about
that. These are the things.
That's true. That is the big issue, and especially when you're talking about horses.
Yeah,
Exactly. Well, we want to head up to Sky Eye right now, and this is an area that a lot of people have been really concerned about. In fact, there were some rumors out there that 59 near the Brazos River had been shut down. That is not the case entirely, but Don Armstrong, you are up in Sky Eye above the scene. Are they doing repair work? What's happening here?
Hi, Melanie, and good afternoon to you. This is 59, the Southwest Freeway. It looks as though that we're just concluding a meeting on the freeway. from Texas Department of Transportation officials and repair crews are assessing the situation. And I'll show you what the situation is. These are the northbound lanes of 59, I-69 out here at the Brazos River Bridge. And as you can see, it doesn't appear to be much. It's water seeping through the crack in the concrete here, the expansion joint, and it doesn't appear to be much. But if you look real closely, and I'm zoomed in all the way, so I can't get much closer than this, but if you look real closely, you can see the water bubbling up between that expansion joint there in the left lane between lanes 1 and 2 on the freeway. And they obviously feel that there's a need for concern and further investigation in this because they don't want the freeway to collapse. And here's why. As I pull out, I'm going to show you exactly where this is in relationship to the Brazos River. There's portions of it right there. Now, this is not the actual river itself. The actual river is right up here. That's where the actual river itself is. All of this is flooded area, and it floods underneath the freeway. But as you can see, that actually the river can't really get underneath the freeway. So I think that they're trying to figure out what exactly is going on underneath the freeway there for the water to be bubbling up. It appears as though that they're clearing the HOV lane. But in the meantime, right now anyway, a couple left lanes are blocked. There's really not a whole lot of traffic coming into town. There's more traffic going out of town over the Brazos River here. But I'm going to continue to pull out and show you the extent of the flooding around the Brazos River out here in Fort Bend County.
And Don, I want to point out that we're showing our viewers too on the split screen another shot of the Brazos River as well. And, you know, we know over Greens Bayou, a bridge collapsed because of the water beneath it. We've seen some areas where the ground, you know, is so saturated that it's just not solid. So I'm sure they're concerned about the possibility of that with the water bubbling up on that freeway.
And that's what I would assess as well. I mean, that's what I get from all of this. It looks as though that they're going to remain having those lanes closed, at least for the time being. I don't know whether they're going to actually affect repairs out here or whether or not they're just going to leave those lanes closed until the river goes down and they can actually figure out what's going on. But it really doesn't affect traffic too much. But flooding, obviously, is extensive out here in this area. We're out here by New Territory and Greatwood. And as you can see, it's quite extensive, also affecting Highway 99. That's 99, the Grand Parkway over there. And there was a construction project underway before all this flooding started. And now, with the river as high as it is, they've shut down this area of 99 as it goes into 59, I-69 out here on the Southwest Freeway in Fort Bend County.
Boy, it is shocking to see just how much water there is there. I don't think we realized until you pull back how much of that is flooding and not the river itself. But Don, we are glad to kind of squelch those rumors out there that 59 was completely shut down at that location. In fact, I think I saw a tweet earlier. It may have been from Fort Bend just saying, please, this is not true. Don't circulate this rumor. Thank you so much to Don Armstrong there, as we say, above 59 at the Brazos River.
We want to turn it over now. We have on the telephone with us from Metro, Jerome Gray. And Jerome, we want to welcome you here with us, along with Melanie and me. We also have Rebecca Spira joining us to talk about your operations. And where are you right now in terms of getting service back up and fully functional?
Sure. We're working very hard to bring on as much service as soon as possible. We have to check all the routes, make sure safety is not an issue, make sure flooding is not an issue. I can tell you that we started the day with about 40 routes. And we've been adding throughout the day, and by the end of the day, we may very well have as many as an additional 10 to 20 local bus routes that are in service. We also have been able to completely reopen the Red Line, rail line from Fannin South all the way up to the North Line Transit Center. Our other two rail lines, the Green and the Purple Line, right now we're using bus shuttles to get folks along those lines until those rail lines are fully operational. We did put the word out before, and it maintains that our park and ride service remains suspended until Tuesday, as well as the HOV lanes. Those are closed until further notice. Our MetroLift service, which, of course, a number of people in our paratransit service rely on MetroLift, happy to report that we're providing limited service and expect to have normal service with MetroLift tomorrow, with the understanding that there still may be some areas that unaccessible and we're not able to get to, but we're doing everything we can to get those services back online.
Hey, Jerome, how many routes for the buses do you typically have on a given day?
Sure. Typically, a given day, our local routes, it's about 80, altogether about 110. So, it's a combination of the local bus routes and the park and ride bus routes.
So you're actually doing better than 50% of your routes are now open and running.
Absolutely. We're doing better than 50%. Thanks for pointing that out, Rebecca. And we fully hope and expect later today and tomorrow to notch that up to the 70% range.
Are you running on a Sunday schedule today, or are you running on a typical schedule?
No, we're running on a typical schedule, but what we want everyone to know and to understand, for us, what that is meaning right now is that many of those routes are probably going to be 30 minutes to 60 minutes, so it's going to be a little slower. When we can get the frequency going, we will. We're trying to bring it back to normal as quickly as possible, so we are providing information, and we're encouraging everyone to go to ridemetro.org, sign up for those service alerts. They can give you detailed information about your particular route and what's happening with it.
Jerome, this is Melanie. Wanted to just ask you real quickly. I know you've never dealt with anything of this magnitude because none of us have. But did you suffer a lot of damage on some of your lines or your buses?
Yeah, great question, Melanie. Quite frankly, as you can imagine, in terms of flooded areas, that's where we're having problems with getting routes. Here's the great news. We have over 1,200 buses. We were very fortunate with our operations team doing everything they can to minimize the damage to those buses. So we're now in the range of about maybe 12 buses that were flooded. It's very low.
Yeah, that is very low.
Well, they're still doing the assessment. And one of the key factors for us, which was a big factor, our Kashmir bus facility did indeed flood. But our operations team, they were quick on it before the storm came in, and that's why they moved all those buses up on the HOV lane. We knew it was not going to be in operation. It was a great place to have as a precautionary tale to be able to place buses there and prevent those buses. So, as a result of that, 120 buses did not flood.
I know you said the park and rides are not up and going right now. Did a lot of them flood out pretty badly? From some of the video that we saw from up above, it looked like some of them were kind of low-lying.
Yes, there are a few of them that are low-lying, coming to mind, Kingwood, Townsend. A couple of those bus routes, parking ride locations are low-lying, did take on water. We're assessing the damage. We still anticipate that we'll be able to run our park and ride service come Tuesday morning.
Okay.
And wanted to ask you, Jerome, on Saturday morning or Sunday, they're all mixed together now, but I think it was Sunday morning, we interviewed a Metro bus driver who was trying to get to work. Of course, she didn't have to go to work that day because you all had suspended services, but she was scared. She was trying to get to work. How are your drivers doing? How many of your drivers have been impacted by this?
Absolutely. We're trying to get an assessment to figure out the numbers, but as you can imagine, quite a few have been impacted. And I can tell you, some of the operators who have been impacted, they still want to get out and support this community and do what they can, so they reported to work to be able to ride those routes. In addition to the normal service you're seeing, what we have been very focused on since the storm began was the whole effort to get people to shelters. So many of our operators were deployed in that fashion, using our buses to transport people out of neighborhoods into shelters. So I've seen the pictures. You all know the story about us using those buses in that fashion.
Yeah. And I want to be clear, because downtown businesses are starting to reopen. How, again, are you navigating folks who need to get down and are trying to get back to work? Because a lot of folks, of course, Tuesday are going to be trying to get back to work. I know you said the rail lines were not yet operational. Well,
here's the key thing about that. And the good news is we will have the park and ride service available Monday, and about 30% of the downtown employees use our park and ride service. We fully anticipate, depending on what's going on with downtown parking garages and such, we may very well have additional people on our park and ride service. And so we're planning for that, too, to try to provide as much as we can to get people where they need to go. The other key thing about downtown, the red line, that's the major line that runs into downtown. So you do have that access getting into downtown. The green and purple lines, they cross downtown, and right now we're using bus shuttles to do that. By Tuesday, we may very well, and we hope, to have the green and purple lines fully operational.
All right. Well, Jerome Gray, we saw Metro in full force, even when they weren't able to get out there in all those flooded streets. And we certainly appreciate the service that you all have done over the last week or so. Nice of you to join us. We don't get a chance to see you enough in person, but it's nice to hear you on the phone. Thanks so much, Jerome.
Thank you. Good to join you, too.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back with more on the road to recovery after this short break.
We have a flash flood emergency in effect.
The rain just kept coming and they came in the house.
A storm unlike any we have ever seen.
Just non-stop heavy rain.
Battering southeast Texas for days.
There are massive water evacuations taking place.
As floodwaters continued to rise.
The water just continues to pick up. You see more families over there.
Just came up the Brace Bayou, and what I can tell you is it's simply unbelievable. We couldn't even believe our eyes.
Neighbors rushed in to help.
We're just try reaching out to family and friends nearby.
I drove 18 hours, came down here and jumped in the water, and been looking ever since, trying to help somebody.
I don't even know what to say. They're not my kids, but I tell you what, I love them like they're my own.
Standing strong.
This is Texas. We take care of each other.
The spirit of Houston is here.
Together.
We're going to make sure that those folks are getting the help that they need.
We thank God good.
It's not just a donation.
It's a warm blanket.
It's a bottle of clean water.
It's a roof and a bed.
It's knowing someone cares.
It's feeling safe.
It's a today that's better than yesterday.
Every dollar you can spare helps so much more than you can imagine. Please donate now. Your help is urgently needed.
From across the globe to every corner here at home, they ask, they listen. They've been right there for more than a decade, everywhere you need them. David Muir covering our world. Melanie Lawson and Art Rascone covering our home. News leaders you can count on. That's why more Houstonians watch 13's Live at 5 and ABC's World News Tonight. And we thank you.
Well, welcome back. Gina Gaston and Melanie Lawson here as we continue our coverage of now Tropical Depression Harvey, and we hope pretty soon will be nothing Harvey. Absolutely zero Harvey. But in the meantime, we want to show you some new pictures that are coming in. This is in Brazoria County in the area of Richwood, and some of these areas under mandatory evacuation, as you might imagine. This is our Sky Drone 13.
Yes, we're trying to show you the areas of Audubon Woods 2 and 3, Brazos Crossing. Again, those are under mandatory evacuations. You can see right now it looks as though there are still people in that community. We don't know whether they just chose not to evacuate or if they came back in to try and get their belongings, but this is kind of some of our first look at some of these communities, because we can finally fly our drone, which we couldn't do during the height of Harvey. Bastrop Bayou causing the flooding there in that community. And this is a good time to remind you that 185,000 plus homes are now said to have been affected by Harvey. That according to the Texas Division of Emergency Management. But we also learned that in Harris County alone, 10% of the structures are thought to have suffered flooding. We learned that yesterday, which is double plus times Allison, and they expect, of course, these numbers are going to go up. They're still counting, but you can see that water is just standing still there, and it's anywhere near the Brazos, they say it may be standing still for a little bit.
Yeah, and in this particular case, the issue apparently also involves sewage, and unfortunately, we've seen this in a number of locations where it's not just disgusting floodwaters, it also involves sewage, and so many systems beginning to back up. So needless to say, for health reasons alone, they are urging people to evacuate. But as we look from Sky Drone here, it looks as though at least part of it, it really is. You've just got water in the streets, and then the homes seem to be quite dry, as well as their driveways.
You mentioned sewage, Mel. ABC News reporter mentioned yesterday that there was E. coli found in some of the water here. We don't know what part of Houston that was. We know that West Houston, near Briar Forest and I-10, kind of where the reservoirs were flooding into the bayou. We know that Alex Michelson was there for us yesterday and complained about the stench, which he felt certain was raw sewage. But that is certainly a problem that we're having to contend with in a lot of communities. And who wants E. coli in the water?
Exactly. And in fact, we had a doctor in here just a little while ago with the Department of Health who talked about some of the safety issues. And at the very top, obviously, is any kind of infections or illnesses you can get just from
boots and stuff.
Right. Don't hang out in the floodwater was kind of the bottom line there. We're going to go now to Casey Curry. Oh, in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about the Day of Giving.
Oh, yes. Okay.
We've got an update on some numbers there.
We do. We want to tell you that yesterday was our Day of Giving, although you you can continue to give, and that we hope that you will, to the American Red Cross as part of our Disney Corporation effort. $14.2 million you have contributed. So people all over the country are pitching in and doing their part because they want to do something to try and make our transition back to normalcy a little easier.
Exactly, as we saw those trucks leaving Boston and all the Bostonians who were helping out. This is a little bit more, well, it's a monetary donation, but it certainly is very, very helpful, especially as it goes to the American Red Cross. Now we're going to go to Casey. Sorry to disturb you for a moment there, Casey, but we did want to talk a little bit about the Day of Giving.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you did. It's amazing how much money has really been raised, and I can't even tell you, and I'm sure you guys are the same way. I'm getting texts from friends and family all over the country saying, you know, how can I help? You know, what's your favorite group to donate to? And of course I said, you know, the ABC Fund, but you know, pick whatever is close to your heart. And of course, if it's easier for you or better for you and you're in the community, you guys have places I know that are close to your heart as well. All right, let's talk about these levels of some of our waterways. We're going to take you down along the Brazos River, and I'm going to go kind of from Richmond downstream and show you the progress of this water, at least what we're expecting to happen as we move through the next few days. Right now, the Brazos River at Richmond is still above record levels. It will likely fall below record levels over the weekend, slowly, very slowly receding. Our flood stage is at 45 feet, and even by the middle of next week for the Brazos River at Richmond, we're still expecting you to be at flood stage. Let's take you a little further downstream. This is the Brazos River near Roche Sharon. Level right now at 52.3 feet. That is well above flood stage at 43, and you can see the forecast here. This is this line here. We're expecting that to pretty much hold steady throughout the weekend and even into early next week. So not a lot of changes for you folks near Roche Sharon. Further down the line, this is the Brazos River near West Columbia. You have not crested yet. So again, this is further downstream. You haven't crested yet at West Columbia. The crest is going to be 32 feet. At least that's what we're thinking at this point. That would happen late in the weekend, early next week, and likely kind of hang steady through about the middle of next week. Now remember, flood stage is at 30 feet. So you're above flood stage, but you're not forecast to be too much above flood stage, a couple of feet, but still that's putting you right close to major flood stage for a pretty good period. I also want to take you a little further out to the west. This is the Colorado River at Wharton. Flood stage at 39 feet. Current level right now just over 50 feet. You've fallen below the record. You're still below the record. And we will likely not see big changes at the Colorado River near Wharton through the weekend. Very slow fall. But once we get into early next week, we expect those levels to start to drop off more dramatically. Now let's talk about a few of the flood warnings that are still in effect. We'll take you on the west side of Houston. This is what's associated with the reservoirs there, both the Addicks and the Barker. These are areas that for the most part are under evacuation orders as well. We do have house flooding ongoing. As you guys know, across that area, these subdivisions are all pretty much underwater. We have a lot of homes in this area that have water inside them as well. We do not expect big changes here. We've seen very small drops in both reservoirs over the last day or so. We expect that to continue to happen. However, we expect the water to remain in these neighborhoods for another 2 weeks. We heard from the Harris County Flood Control District this morning. They don't expect any sort of significant improvement for at least 15 days. So that's going to remain a very dangerous situation for you folks on the west side of town. This particular flood warning remains in effect through Sunday night. My guess is it will be extended past that. I also want to take you down into Brazoria County. So this aerial flood warning, this was shocking. I had to double check it when I read it this morning. It's in effect through next Friday. So that's a week from now. And remember, the reason for that is this is where the Brazos River and the San Bernard River, this is way downstream on those. So of course it takes longer for the water to reach there, and you're going to reach your crests over the weekend and early next week. So your flood warnings will remain in effect. The thing to remember here is that we have some areas that are flooding, but we expect additional flooding in these areas as well. So even if you are not flooded yet in Brazoria County, if you're along one of these waterways, you have a high likelihood of still flooding because, again, a lot of these haven't crested yet. Let's talk about what's happening in the tropics. We have several things that we're keeping an eye on. One thing I want to highlight is this new area of disturbed weather right off the African coast. 60% chance for development. We circled it in orange there. The other area you've probably paid a lot of attention to in the last 24 hours, this is Hurricane Irma. I don't want you to stress about this storm. It is way far out there, and the early indicators are that it's going to take about a week to even get into the Caribbean, and then after that, likely curving up to the north, which would keep it out of the Gulf. The other area that we're watching is all this moisture that's in the southern parts of the Gulf. Yesterday, we were talking about a possibility that it might organize into something tropical. But right now, we're not expecting that to happen any longer. The National Hurricane Center has said they're kind of dropping that from their discussion. It doesn't really look like, when you look at the computer models, anything really gets going. The thing we're going to have to watch, though, moisture from this little area of disturbed weather will still likely push up our direction and interact with a cold front early in the week next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So we've had to put some rain chances in the forecast for early next week. Here's the latest on Hurricane Irma. Still a Category 3 storm today. We do expect some strengthening, probably back up to Category 3 status at some point today. And as we move through time, we get into the weekend, early next week, the storm starts to approach the Windward Islands. So again, this is way out of our area. And then the computer models, at least for now, are indicating more of a northerly turn on this, which of course would keep it out of the Gulf. Still very early to say exactly what kind of impact the storm will have on anybody at this point, but we are definitely watching what's happening with Irma. I just don't want you stressing about Irma, because at this point there's nothing to stress about. As we look through the next 7 days, a couple of really good days to dry out, clean up what you can, because we do have some rain in the forecast, certainly by Monday, Tuesday, and into Wednesday. We're going to fine-tune this as we get closer, but right now we are not expecting torrential amounts of rain, so that is certainly good news, although we'd love it if we stayed dry for the next, 2 weeks. But without that happening, you can look at the computer models that show anywhere from a ½ inch to maybe an inch of rain across parts of our area, so not the worst-case scenario for sure. So we've got a frontal boundary that edges in, combines with that moisture, so that's why we've upped those rain chances. Really great weather behind that front. You'll notice as we get into later in the day, Wednesday, into Thursday, and even into Friday, we're going to be dry and cooler, low humidity, lows in the 60s, nice little treat. But remember, we've got some warm days ahead, especially through the weekend. High temperatures in the low 90s for the next few days. We've already started to see a little bit of humidity kind of creeping up into the air, even though we do have that northerly wind. So take all those little summertime precautions that we talk about, hydrating and breaks if you can, because I know a lot of you are doing some manual labor that maybe some of you aren't quite so used to doing in the heat.
You won't hear us complaining about heat and humidity and sunshine, at least not for a few days. Yeah, that's not coming out of our mouths. I wanted to tell you about a couple of school districts. We've obviously been hearing a lot about when the start date will be. Many school districts who had hoped they would start right after Labor Day obviously have pushed that back. We have now heard from Clear Creek and Spring ISDs. They have definitely set September the 11th, which is a Monday, as their start dates. Again, Clear Creek and Spring ISD. Spring Branch at this point is closed through 9/8, so we are anticipating that they as well will be open on 9/11. So plan on that, but you might want to make sure you double check with your school district, because these numbers keep being fluctuating.
Yeah, I know HISD was saying that 90% of their schools took some kind of damage in their facilities. We have our governor is getting ready to have a press event in Austin, we understand. Is that ready to go or not quite yet? Okay, so we're going to bring that to you as soon as it comes to pass. We've been showing you some pictures of Tom Abrams, who's been flying with the Blackhawks in a Black Hawk helicopter with the National Guard. He started over, I believe, at the Trinity River and then got a chance to go over the Brazos River. We've been showing you that on our screen, so I wanted to update you that that's part of what you've been seeing when you see a shot from the sky.
Right now, I think now this is Sky Eye, and they are in Wharton, so that means Don Armstrong is on board. And Don, can you tell us where you are and what you're looking at?
Well, we're just approaching Wharton, and I have to tell you that as we approach the Colorado River here, there is a wide, very vast area of farmland that is all underwater. And some of these farms down here, they are either abandoned, or there are some folks that are home, and I wish that I could take a picture for you. There's one farm down here that has the house in the middle of the property that is obviously elevated in that property, and they've circled the cars around the house as if you would see in some old Western movie where they circled the wagons for all the enemy. And that's what it looked like. Now, whether those cars in the house went under, I can't tell you that because I don't know when the river went out of its banks, but I can tell you that there's extensive flooding down here, as you can see from my pictures. A lot of the roads and highways down here are underwater, and you can see for yourself just what I mean. I do see people out and about, and a lot of these farm trucks are fording the water through these low water areas. Some of the roads are blocked off by the police, but there's a lot of activity here as far as water is concerned, trying to get to the Brazos River and down to the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, we know that there was an effort to evacuate there in Morton, and they expected that, in fact, there would be major flooding because of the Colorado River there. I see some folks are able to travel that main highway, but it looks in poor condition, too. And those look to be work crews.
Yeah, they do. I'm looking at those flashing lights there.
Yeah, and this is pretty typical of most of the main roads here. Obviously, the farm roads that go from the main roads to the actual farm where the barn is and the house and that sort of stuff, those are all underwater. And I did see a couple of large 3/4-ton trucks that they were trying to make their way back.
We hate to interrupt you, but the governor just came out, so we're going to take his press conference live. If you will hold on to your pictures, we'll continue to watch those. Thanks.
Yesterday, as well as news from today. Yesterday, I had a very productive visit with the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence. We met in Corpus Christi and toured around that region, as well as Rockport and over to Victoria. We had the opportunity to meet with people whose homes have been basically turned into rubble. We got to shake their hands and hold their babies as they were going through the repair and removal process. The Vice President and I even helped to carry away debris that is stacked up in their yards. And the most incredible thing that we observed, trouble, but the resilience of strong-hearted Texans who are just happy to be alive, happy to be here in the Lone Star State, both in Rockport and Victoria. The most profound thing we observed were volunteers who were stepping one by one, and the hundreds who were helping out, helping their fellow Texans.